How's it going, guys? Today I'll be looking into Shinya Kogami. There will be spoilers, and so if you haven't watched the first season of Psycho Pass, I suggest you do. You have been warned, and without further ado, let's get into the video. The world of Psycho Pass is a futuristic cyberpunk Japan setting, where the civil system measures the psychopath, which is the stress level of an individual. And when the individual's crime coefficient, a person's probability of committing a crime, is above the normal value, which is 100, the individual is labeled a latent criminal, who is later pursued by the inspectors and the enforcers of the Crime Investigation Department, where the individual is sent to rehab and therapy. If the individual's crime coefficient becomes 300, they are labeled a serious threat to society and they must be eliminated. So who is Kogami Shinya? Kogami Shinya used to be an inspector in the CID, but would later be stripped of that title after the death of an enforcer that worked under him, Sasayama, who was brutally killed by Makishima Shogo. His crime coefficient went to that of a latent criminal. He became an enforcer. This case has not been solved ever since. Kogami later spends the next 3 years investigating the case by himself, to find the justice for his friend, the only way he can. But over the years, Kogami developed a hunting dog behavior, to follow orders and take down his prey without neither hesitation nor doubt. In his mind, he doesn't want to die until he kills Makishima. But in many cases, you see him mainly deep in thought, analyzing and predicting the killer's motive or moves. When he figures it out, he quickly seeks them out and wants to be first contact with them, without the need of endangering his colleagues. Even though sometimes he uses them as bait, he always seems to be the one that pulls the final trigger. He wants that burden on himself.
If I have it my way, you won't have to take anyone's life. I'll carry that weight.
He does not want blood on the hands of any of his colleagues, especially Akane. He would rather do it himself. He wants to carry that burden all the while keeping Akane safe and innocent. This is his way of protecting her. There is only one time Kogami doesn't live up to this expectation, when he realizes killing his opponent was the most important thing to him. But I can't shake the feeling that he enjoys it, the chase, the thrill of the hunt. That's what he lives for, especially during the Throne case, how everything fell into place. Kogami prepared his own methods instead of the civil to lure the killer Yugi Kanehara out. Kogami acted recklessly, putting his life and others at risk for the case. But it worked. The killer reacted just the way Kogami wanted. Even Akane was surprised he would do something so reckless, smiling as he took on a massive robot all on his own, enjoying the hunt. Akane clearly describes his eyes, unmistakably that of a carnivore who has cornered his prey. This is not the Kogami that wants to be a detective, as he states.
Being a detective is actually it's about protecting people, not hurting them.
And he is in conflict with this statement the whole show, the conflict between protecting and killing. But every time the specimen case is brought up, he becomes totally obsessed with Makishima, often putting his friends in danger. So what exactly is he protecting? And there's also the fact that Akane also lost a friend who was killed by Makishima, but didn't become a latent criminal or obsessed over revenge. This shows there are key differences between them. Akane believes that people should protect the law. It is not the final judgment of good or evil that is important. What matters is that you come to that decision yourself, you agonize over it, and eventually accept it. While Kogami thinks the law should protect people, why go so far to obey the law when the law can neither judge a criminal nor protect people? Akane is not a violent person and she does not like to kill. This is seen multiple times throughout the anime. For example, if Akane had shot Makishima, she would have saved Yuki, but she doesn't because she still has her whole life ahead of her. And secondly, she dislikes violence, or even when she was told by Kogami to bash Makishima with a helmet when he was most vulnerable, an opportunity that might never present itself again. She refuses. She just couldn't do it. This is when Kogami prioritized the killing of Makishima over protecting her. In fact, she tries to avoid killing throughout the whole anime, This might be one of the reasons why her psychopath is so clear. While Kyogami has a violent side, he has shown this multiple times during the drone case, or whenever the specimen cases comes up. He is unable to control this side of him, especially after the death of his partner, Sasayama. In my humble opinion, I didn't really see that much connection between Sasayama and Kyogami. I mean, the first thing Kyogami says about him is he is a pervert, but that's really the extent of their relationship in the anime. Nevertheless, feeling anger after the death of a loved one and wanting to punish the person responsible for it is not a bad thing. It is when these feelings overcome, consumes and becomes him is when he becomes a blatant criminal. This is not to say Akane is a better person than Kyogami, this is just their own way of dealing with the civil system. Akane and Kyogami have different ideas of justice. Kyogami leads him to be in conflict with the civil system and society, while Akane allows her to coexist with the system. When Akane confronted Civil about the law, she acknowledges how broken the civil system is. Do you know the most demeaning thing you can do to the law that should be sacred? Creating and administering a law that is unworthy of protection, later stating that currently, the civil system is needed in society. Without it, there will be chaos. But warns the system not to underestimate humans and their free will. They are always searching for a better society. Kyogami's relationship with Makishima. Kyogami and Makishima are similar but not the same. When first known by the other, they both complement each other. Makishima saying he is impressed with Kyogami's instinct and intelligence, and for Kyogami, Makishima is a genius, but he believes his greatest skill is his charisma. To Kyogami, Makishima is a worthy opponent. He even tells Ganoza how he feels good whenever he's chasing Makishima. They both have similar ideology when it comes to killing. Kyogami with the Dominator, he believes the person should be stronger than the weapon they hold. That's why he trains hard. Makishima believes so too, saying,
"Feel it, the importance of life resting gingerly against your fingertip."
Even during these cases that were unrelated to the specimen case, they were still able to understand each other. Kyogami would be able to point out a flaw that each of the individuals in the case have, and that would be the same reason Makishima would discard them. For example, in the Mido case, Kyogami describes Mido as just a fan, without a personality of his own, knowing Spooky Boogie and Talisman inside and out, imitating them perfectly, which will be the same reason for Makishima to discard him. You can portray any character you desire, but it turns out you yourself are nobody. Your personality is completely blank. Another example is the Ryuko Oryu case. Kyogami cleverly unravels that she lacked originality. She wanted to be profound but doesn't have anything to say, which is also the reason why Makishima discarded her, as he was amused that Kyogami figured it out quite quickly. This shows they think similarly when it comes to these cases. Kyogami was able to link the two separate cases to Makishima. Mido and Kanahara had a motive, and Makishima would just provide the means to act on those desires. As Kyogami will say, it's the intent and the means. Makishima was able to find those with the desire to kill and grant them the means to become killers. But all of this doesn't really tell the full story. Why go so far to do all of this? When Kyogami discovered the civil system would not help him on his quest to kill Makishima, he decides to leave. When asked by Masoka why is he so obsessed with Makishima, is it his evil crimes or is it something else? Kyogami doesn't reply with, "For the revenge of my partner Sasayama." No, Kyogami replies with,
Neither of those, Pops. It's fear. Fear that if I give up the hunt, I won't be able to live with myself for letting that madman get away.
which shows that he is on this pursuit for his own selfish reasons. He is abandoning his friends just to chase what society calls a madman. They even tell each other their reasons. Kyogami tells Makishima that he is acting this way to be accepted by society and by others. He is using these feelings against humanity in an attempt to fill his emptiness. Makishima tells Kyogami that he too is also lonely. He decides to cut all the relationship with his friends to kill Makishima. When his best friend since childhood was bleeding over his father's corpse, he couldn't even care to call for backup or even console him. He continues to chase Makishima. Even Akane was bleeding on the floor, pleading with Kyogami not to kill Makishima. Kyogami still couldn't resist, time and time again, abandoning the relationship with his friends for the relationship of a hunter and prey. Deep down, he wants an enemy rather than a friend. This is why ultimately, Kyogami ends Season 1 not as a detective, but as a hunting dog. But what do you think? Leave a comment down below, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want more analysis videos by me, please subscribe. It's free and it really doesn't cost anything. Thank you, and I'll see you later.